What's up, everybody? Welcome back into the Philly Sports Power Hour with Bill Colarulo. And like we are joined every Tuesday by Eagles insider Dave Spadaro. What's going on, brother?
Hi, Bill. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. We're sitting here 10-1, finding ways to win. I'm losing years off my life every Sunday, but a win is a win. What did you think of that game, Dave?
I think we've said every week, right? Dallas, unbelievable. Kansas City, incredible. I mean, it's just this long string of just remarkable games from a team that's really special. And I thought it was incredible. I mean, I worried that there was a little bit of flatness from both the crowd with the tryptophan, stuffed fans, and the team between Kansas City and San Francisco, and turned out to be that way a little bit. Really give the Eagles a lot of credit for the way they just stay so calm, cool, on point, don't beat themselves. And to me, a huge game. And I think that this team just approaches every game like it is the most important game. And so I know everybody's going to talk about how San Francisco is this huge game, and it is. And then Dallas will be such a huge game, and it will be. But Buffalo was an incredibly important game too. And the Eagles just play with that kind of intensity. I thought it was incredible. I love the way Jalen pulled it together. I was talking with Mike Quick this morning about how Jalen was so struggling in that first half, other than that one drive. In the second half, their last 6 possessions, 5 touchdowns, or four touchdowns and a field goal in their last 6 possessions. Amazing stuff. So let's just keep it going.
And you mentioned, we'll get to Jalen in a second, but you mentioned how this team just approaches every game the same. And I give a lot of credit to Nick Sirianni. The culture he's built with this Philadelphia Eagles team has been tremendous, how they just seem to find ways to win, never get down. But why do you think he's not getting as much respect nationally as I think he should be?
I don't pay attention to it. I don't know. I didn't know that he wasn't getting a lot of respect nationally. I can't imagine why you wouldn't give the guy respect nationally. I mean, the Eagles have had the best record or tied for the best record since week 1 of 2021. So who's getting a lot of respect? I mean, who's not? I don't know.
I mean, you look at, and I know this maybe isn't the national media as much, but you look at the odds for Coach of the Year. They got Nick Sirianni at number 5 last year, not in the Coach of the Year conversation. And I just don't understand how a guy who's now led his team to 2 straight 10-1 starts, and I think I saw a stat, the only 2 coaches to ever do that are Tony Dungy and Don Shula.
Yep.
How this guy isn't in conversations for Coach of the Year both years, this year and last.
He's my Coach of the Year. So, I mean, I think he's done a great job here. And I love the way that he is able to bring this team up to a really high level of focus and intensity every week. And, hey, that's not the award that I want, right? Like, nobody's into it. Nobody's into it for the individual awards. There's one thing that this football team wants, and the rest of it is all talk.
Yeah, I think all the fans would agree with you too, Dave. As long as we're holding up that Lombardi trophy at the end of the year, we're going to be pretty fired up. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned Jalen Hurts in that first half. The whole offense just looked off. What did you think was going on in that first half?
Yeah, really weird. So they get the ball. They have the one drive, 10 plays, 66 yards. And the rest of it, 3 plays, 2 plays, 4 plays, 3 plays, 3 plays, 1 play. I don't know. The last 2 games, these have been pressure-oriented defenses, and that's kind of taken the Eagles off track a bit. But I don't know. I mean, look, I can understand a little settling in period with Lane Johnson out and Jack Driscoll in. Jack, to his credit, really got better and better and better. I mean, the man didn't even know he was going to start until an hour and a half before the game. It didn't take many reps in practice, so I give him a lot of credit for that. But I don't know, and certainly it's something to work on, Bill. And there are every component of this team. You address it and you try to make it better, and so that is clearly starting fast. Is something that Nick's offense has always really done. They've always played well early in the game, and then they've handled that halftime period, that 6 to 7 minute period really well. And lately, they haven't been able to put as many points on the board. So it's something to emphasize this week. I'm sure they are. You can't play 30 minutes against the Niners and expect to win that game. It's got to be a 60-minute, all-out, great effort, great performance. But certainly something that the coaches and players are working on and addressing and taking very seriously this week, because they scored in Kansas City and against the Bills on their second possession and then did very little the rest of the half. So very, very strange. It's too different. I can't put my finger on one thing, Bill. I mean, it's just pressure, lack of execution on third down. Eagles were 0 of 4 on third downs. They led the NFL in third down offense coming into the game. So, in a little bit of a lull there, they have to correct it, and I think they have confidence they will.
And we talked about last week, all the signs were pointing to this could have been a trap game against Buffalo, the quote-unquote trap game, whether you believe in those or not. But they had the emotional win on Monday night, short week, Thanksgiving holiday mixed in. You got the 49ers coming this week. There were all of these reasons to believe, hey, maybe this would be a letdown game. But now you got the 49ers coming off a 10-day rest, and the Philadelphia Eagles defense played 95 snaps yesterday. What does Nick Sirianni, the coaching staff, and the medical staff do this week to make sure this defense is rested for Sunday against the 49ers?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that they do every day. It's not just this week. And I've learned over the years that the most important part of an NFL player, okay, it's the recovery. And it's when you come off the field, you hydrate right away, maybe you get a little snack right away. You rest your body. They'll go through a walkthrough, I'm sure, on Wednesday and have they'll keep their practice. It's actually nice this week for the Eagles to have a full practice week, right? Like last week was a short week. So that's even though it's not 10 days, it feels different for the players to get that extra day of rest. And look, we're only 2 weeks out from the bye week. So it's not like the Eagles have been like the Bills going into their week 12 game, week 13 game now without a bye week. So, but there's enough veterans here to know that as soon as Sunday ended, you start recovering. You don't go out and hit the town. You don't dehydrate your body. You get recovery right away. And that means hydration, rest, massages, cold tubs, get all the inflammation out of your body, get your bodies back, get your minds right, and let's go win a game on Sunday.
Yeah, you said don't go out, but we did see some Philadelphia Eagles in the house last night at the Sixers game, which I loved. I love when the other teams support each other. That was pretty cool.
And look, I mean, when Shaq's in town, when LeBron's in town, everybody is paying attention, and I think it's cool. I mean, I love the way that Jalen is received by the fans. I mean, everybody loves him, and he appreciates it, and saw a little smile there, and had some fun. And this is a really good Sixers basketball team. So, and there's a lot of Sixers fans in this building. So, hey, I think I love the way the Phillies and the Eagles and the Flyers and the Sixers all support each other and are part of, Bill, it's like they understand they're part of an amazing sports culture. And I think fans just take a deep breath every now and then and remind yourself how great this sports town is. It is rare, and we've been around long enough to know that it's not always like this. It's a really good period of time here. So the players get into it as well, and I think they have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I like it too. You're here to talk Eagles, but we were talking earlier, and I want Dave's take on this. You a LeBron guy or an MJ guy?
MJ was the greatest player of all time.
My man.
But taking nothing away from LeBron, but Michael Jordan was the best player of all time, in my opinion.
Agree with you 100%.
I don't get into those kind of conversations. Those kind of conversations are silly to me because it's like 1 and 1A. Who cares?
Yeah.
But Jordan, I mean, I saw him a bunch of times. For a guard to do what he did, and had a top 50 player with him in Scottie Pippen, built around him. That was not an era of super teams. So he was durable. He was tough, did it all. Michael Jordan, number one for me.
Love it. Love it. I'm noticing over your shoulder, people in the comments are saying how you have a window. Look at all that greenery back there. You got a green thumb, Dave?
I do have a green thumb. I got a lot of this. So every year we have on Earth Day, they give away plants. And so all of my plants here are Earth Day machines.
Hey, look at that.
So I am pleased to say I do have a green thumb. Yes. And I like to, I grow them from little tiny plants, and just, it's nice to just feel a little of the outdoors in here.
Not me, man. I can keep a snake plant alive. That's about it. Snake plants are really easy to keep alive.
Ah, it's an art, Bill. You should enjoy it. It's a nice little relaxing hobby.
I love it. Love it. Well, back to the Eagles real quick. So one of the reasons why the defense was on the field for 95 snaps was because they had a really difficult time in this game getting off the field on third down. They let the Bills convert 59% on third down and 70% in that second half. And I know the Buffalo Bills were one of the best third down offenses coming in. You saw what Josh Allen can do with his legs. But really, all season, this defense has struggled to get off the field on third down. I think they were ranked 27th coming in. What are you seeing on third down that's hurt this defense to get off the field?
Well, look, I mean, I think that we have recognized that if the defensive line doesn't dominate, then it's difficult for this defense to get off the field. And I thought Josh Allen, I think mobile quarterbacks are a challenge for every defense. And Josh did a terrific job, as did Sam Howell, as did Patrick Mahomes. I'm trying to think who else. Kirk Cousins may have run around a little bit. It's just hard to get off the field. I mean, the Bills were second in the league in third down percentage offensively. Look, I mean, I think the defense is doing what it has to do, but there's clearly not dominant enough. That they would love to get off the field and be dominant throughout the game. It's just not happening. I don't think the injuries have helped. The instability in the secondary has not helped. Just when you get your secondary healthy, Zach Cunningham goes out. Milton Williams not playing. Fletcher Cox out of the game as well. So, do better on first and second down and shut it down on third down. And again, against San Francisco, with a team that is at – Brock's not a mobile quarterback, but he gets it out really, really fast. He's got a plethora of weapons. Very tough assignment for the Eagles defense once again.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the Niners in a second. But before we do, you and I spoke last week about the clutch gene that Jalen Hurts has, and we saw it again on Sunday. But let's talk about another player who is just so damn clutch, Jake Elliott. How impressed are you with Jake Elliott? And I think a lot of people don't realize, because they hear, oh, he's a kicker. Jake Elliott is one of the most athletic guys on this team, an absolute lights-out golfer. I've heard from guys who have played with him that he is a really good golfer as well. But how impressed are you with just how clutch Jake Elliott has been from his rookie season?
He's great in everything, Bill. I would say using a boxing analogy, pound for pound, he's the best athlete on the team. Great tennis player as a kid. Every time they have competitions here, he wins the competition. He's got just he's a flatliner personality. Somebody asked me, what's the difference? Who's better, David Akers or what? What's the difference between David Akers and Jake Elliott? And I think the only difference is that David's played longer than Jake has so far. So both great kickers. I mean, his range is really, I mean, he's 5 of 6, I think, on 50 plus this year, 8 of 9, whatever it is. Yeah, and really studies constantly the weather patterns. He's always on the sidelines kicking. I mean, he's just and the golf analogy is a good one, Bill, because being a kicker, you're swinging, it's a groove. And we're just seeing, interestingly, maybe the best kicker of all time, Justin Tucker, with Baltimore, is now his percentage of converted field goals is now down to 80% this year. It's like the worst season of his career. And it's just that little bit that you push left, you push right, push left. But man, that drive was the tester of all testers for Eagles fans. You're moving the ball down the field, you get in position, then you have the penalties, and then the wind, then they call timeout, and the wind just picked up. I was on the field, the wind just started picking up, moving left to right, and Jake just nailed it. So to have a weapon like that, and by the way, as part of a really good special teams unit that we have criticized in the past, people have criticized in the past, let's give the special teams credit right now. They are playing great football. A blocked field goal, Britton Covey, a big-time return, 18 yards. Braden Mann averaging 52 plus gross, or whatever it was, 42 net. Sidney Brown goes down, makes 2 tackles. Patrick Johnson had a big tackle. on a punt return. I mean, special teams are getting it done. We'll have to do it again on Sunday, but to have a weapon like Jake is a real plus. Something that not a lot of teams, not every team for sure, has tested true, and in the playoffs is always at his best.
And I said it last night. I do another show, Legal Hands to the Face, talking about how clutch Jake Elliott is. I think a lot of people forget Super Bowl 52 because there were so many plays that overshadowed his 46-yard field goal at the end of that game to make it an 8-point game in his rookie season in a Super Bowl. That was a huge kick after BG gets the strip sack. If Elliott misses that field goal, you're giving the ball back to Brady with great field position and only a 5-point lead. So Jake Elliott has been clutch. And one of his first games in the NFL, September 24th, 2017, he hit a 61-yarder to beat the Giants. So
I think I could be wrong, but I think that he's perfect on field goals in the postseason in his career. I have to look that up, but I feel like I've seen that. If I could just access it really quickly here, to confirm it, but I believe he's perfect in the postseason, and we are in postseason mode right now.
Yeah, we are. And let's switch gears then, because we have the San Francisco 49ers coming to town. And we talked about the odds for Coach of the Year award. Well, everybody's angry in Philly. Some of us are a little bit happy because we like being the underdogs, but the San Francisco 49ers are a 3-point favorite right now. Coming to Philadelphia. Does that surprise you a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about odds. So I mean, gambling is something that we are not allowed to do. I don't pay any attention to it. I don't ever know the odds. I mean, if I get it, I guess. I mean, you don't know. There's a bit of uncertainty about who the Eagles are going to have on the field. The Niners have played really well post bye week. Sure. I mean, look, it just gives the Eagles more. Players are always trying to create more motivation, if that's possible. So the idea of being disrespected, maybe, everybody's going to bring out the underdog masks again. Who knows? But I mean, bring it on. Like, this is going to be a great game. We knew it from the start of the season. We circled it. We thought once we get to December, this game is going to mean everything. Could mean the game that decides who's going to have the home field and the number one seed in the NFC playoffs. And here we are, and it could. So I am all for it. And if that motivates the players just a bit more, so be it.
I'm going to ask you this, but I think I already know the answer because I know you don't know a lot about the injury status of players, but you mentioned we don't know who's going to be available. Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox, Zach Cunningham. I guess we'll find out more as the week goes, right?
Yeah, and Goddard, don't know. So, I mean, they're all rehabbing. They're all getting treatment. And, again, just having 48 hours off really can change a lot of things. So, hopeful. But if not, the Christian Ellis's of the world, hopefully Milton Williams is back. Jack Stoll, the personnel packages the Eagles are using, that will have to continue. And it will be very difficult against a top flight team with talent all over the place in the San Francisco 49ers. And I think the Eagles have demonstrated that they have gotten contributions from this 53-man roster, the 16 players in the practice squad. Beyond that, I mean, they've gone deep into it, bringing in the likes of Bradley Roby. So next man up, and let's go.
And I know you can't comment on free agents, so I'm not going to ask you about them, but there were reports this morning that Shaq Leonard is visiting Dallas today, is supposed to visit Philly later in the week. So we'll keep monitoring that. We'll see what he has left because he hasn't played a lot of games over the last couple of seasons. But I won't ask you about that. We'll see what happens. We'll keep monitoring it throughout the week. But I see people in the chat.
A very unusual situation for a player that accomplished to be on the streets here. And, I know Nick spoke very highly about him yesterday. Sounds like any team that he joins he'd be a very welcome addition, Bill.
Yeah, well, let's hope he doesn't go to Dallas, Dave. Let's hope that. But speaking of being on the street, I know you have experience. You worked with Frank Reich, and highly regarded coach in this city, helped us win Super Bowl 52. And now he's been fired from 2 jobs in the last 2 years, the Colts, now the Carolina Panthers. They also get rid of Deuce Staley, Josh McCown, a couple other coaches who were here in Philadelphia at one point. How surprised are you that Frank Reich's been fired 2 years in a row now?
Really surprised, but I mean, I guess knowing the kind of the track record of what they're doing in Carolina, maybe I shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
You have to exercise patience in this league. Carolina is a team that really mortgaged a lot, and they got their quarterback. They have not surrounded that quarterback with much of anything. So, to give up on Frank that quickly, it sent a very troubling message to the rest of the league and any prospective coaches who might be candidates for that job. I mean, I love Frank. I stayed in touch with Frank. He said yesterday, I think, to a reporter that he probably won't coach again. We'll see about that. It is an addiction when you're in the NFL. You become addicted to being part of something, to the pace of the game, the pace of the lifestyle, the addiction of the competition. So Carolina, they don't have a first-round draft pick. They got a long, long way to go. And the idea is to surround Bryce Young with a good offensive line, with good receivers, and it doesn't really appear they've done that. And that really is a tough spot for that young man.
It really is, and that's why I say it a lot on this show. Thank God Jeffrey Lurie runs such a great organization, because you see some of these organizations that they get in their own way. To give up on Frank Reich that quickly with a young quarterback, to me, it's a mistake, but hey, we'll see what happens out in Carolina. I know Reich may have mentioned he doesn't want to coach again, but I know his relationship with Nick. He was Nick's mentor. Nick speaks highly of him. So I wouldn't mind bringing in a guy like him as a consultant, similar to what they did with Vic Fangio last year, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there. Well, let me ask you, Dave, before I let you run, 49ers obviously are a good team. They have a good offense. They have a good defense. What do you want to see in this football game against both of those units by the Philadelphia Eagles?
So there's a statistic that's really telling to me. The Niners have a plus 11 in the turnover department, and that's tied for best in the league. And, the Eagles got away with a couple on Sunday, right? Giveaways that Buffalo turned into touchdowns. And I just don't think you can do that against the Niners. We have been waiting for Philadelphia to play that best 60 minutes of the season. Now, I will continue to say that, the goal is to get to 14 wins. I think 14 wins will, likely win the number 1 seed in the NFC. And that's all that matters. However you do it, whether you beat San Fran, whether you beat Dallas, however it happens, I'm fine with it. I just think the Niners are a really good football team. Eagles have to be. So how do you win? You win by playing your game. You win by being physical, by winning the line of scrimmage, by securing the football, by not giving up the X plays. I think that's something they did very well against Buffalo. I know the emphasis was on not letting Stephon Diggs go over the top and have big plays, and they didn't allow that to happen. You give up things within that? Yes, you give up things. So with San Francisco, you got to put Purdy in some uncomfortable situations. You got to stop CMC. I mean, he is just such a hard-running, impressive running back. But you got to win the line of scrimmage. And the Niners are good up front, great on defense up front. Classic matchup here. Look, don't turn the ball over. Win on special teams. The Eagles, by the way, let's talk a little plaudits here for Brian Johnson. I know how fans feel about Brian Johnson. The Eagles have scored touchdowns on 12 straight possessions in the red zone. Touchdowns on 12 straight possessions in the red zone. That's where you win this game. You win it by not turning the ball over. You win the red zone. You be more physical than the Niners. And the fans, bring it. Bring your A-plus game to this one. This is a huge game. And then the Eagles go on the road for 2 tough ones in Dallas, in Seattle. A win on Sunday would be huge.
And you mentioned the red zone. That was one of the areas a lot of people were complaining about early in the season. The Eagles' offense was in the bottom of the league. They started slowly moving their way up. They now sit at number 5 in the NFL at close to 63%, and they are number 1, Dave, since week 6 at over 75%, I believe, in the red zone. So you're right. You score touchdowns in the red zone, you're going to win a lot of games in this league.
And they're getting some running in, We've seen now the quarterback draw has worked twice in successive weeks, something that wasn't there early. When you run the ball in the red zone, you have success. It opens up everything. You're winning the line of scrimmage, and that's what's happening in the red zone for the Eagles, and that's what's got to continue here down the stretch.
Love it. Well, Dave, as always, man, appreciate you joining the show. I know what you're about to give us, and I can't wait to hear it. Give it to us before you run out the door.
Well, Bill, thanks so much for having me, and everyone, thanks for taking the time out here. And let's enjoy the week. And on Sunday, go Birds!
My man. There he is, Dave Spadaro, our Eagles insider. Always love when he joins the show. Go ahead, guys, hit that like button. I see Johnny Bottles calling for it in the chat. I appreciate you. We're going to take one quick break. When we come back, we'll finish like we do every show with a little Today in Sports History. And then, like I said, be ready for Sports Take because we got 3 hours coming up, me and Rob Ellis. We'll be right back, guys.